Today, life on the planet is in a little bit of trouble.
Yeah.
And we're the cause of it.
The View is off the air, finally.
Ooh, where to even begin with this one? When you think of Morgan Freeman, what comes to mind? The calm, commanding voice of God? The wise words of Red from The Shawshank Redemption? A living legend who's given us decades of iconic performances? Well, somehow the ladies of The View decided to take that golden opportunity of sitting across from him and turn it into a complete disaster. And yes, it was so bad that they actually deleted the episode from their YouTube channel, but of course, the internet never forgets. Thank you, Wayback Machine.
Pretty good, huh? Remember the old days when you could turn on network television and hear something that actually made sense?
So let's dive into this train wreck of an interview. Morgan Freeman was there to promote his new Netflix documentary, Life on Our Planet, which takes a fascinating dive into the history of life on Earth, exploring the tenacity of our planet and the many species that have come and gone over the millennia. The man was ready to share some wisdom, to talk about the lessons we can learn from history and the resilience of life itself. But instead, he walked right into a storm of empty chatter, awkward interruptions, and of course, the show's favorite pastime, race baiting. Right off the bat, the interview seemed off. Freeman, who's known for his calm and measured demeanor, started to share his perspective on the state of the planet. He explained how there have been 6 extinction-level events in Earth's history and how humanity might be driving us toward another one. A heavy topic, sure, but it's Morgan Freeman. When the man speaks, you listen. But nope, not on The View. Joy Behar, in all her alarmist glory, jumped in to exclaim, "Oh God, it's scary," as if she just discovered climate change for the first time. Freeman, ever the professional, didn't seem fazed. Instead, he reminded everyone that life itself is incredibly resilient, saying, "Life? I'm not talking about human beings here, I'm talking about the planet, she'll stay." A mic drop moment, right? But Joy wasn't done. She went on about how the planet will only be tenacious if we leave it alone, clearly trying to steer the conversation toward the usual doom and gloom narrative. Freeman's response? Cool, calm, and subtly mocking her hysteria. "I drive an electric car," he quipped, with just enough of a smirk to let you know he wasn't taking her too seriously.
He said, if we don't hurry up and change our ways, there's going to be a cataclysmic event.
Now, let's pause here for a moment. Freeman's documentary isn't your typical environmental scare piece. It's not about preaching or shaming people into action. Instead, it takes a step back to look at the bigger picture. Life has been adapting and evolving for billions of years, and while humans are certainly shaking things up, the planet itself isn't going anywhere. It's a refreshing perspective, but apparently one that the co-hosts couldn't quite wrap their heads around. And let's be real, their over-the-top reactions only made Freeman's level-headedness shine even brighter. What makes Freeman's approach stand out is his insistence on balance, acknowledging the problems we face without falling into despair. He's not here to sugarcoat the realities of climate change or the damage humanity has done, but he's also not buying into the narrative that everything is doomed. In fact, Freeman has often spoken about the importance of understanding history and learning from it, rather than letting fear dictate our actions. It's this nuanced perspective that makes his documentary, Life on Our Planet, such a breath of fresh air. By focusing on the resilience of life and the lessons we can draw from Earth's past, Freeman offers something that so many other environmental discussions lack: hope.
As we come to the end of Black History Month, we want to take another look at everyone that we've honored this year.
The co-hosts of The View could have taken this opportunity to dive deeper into Freeman's thoughts on how humanity can strike that balance between progress and preservation, but instead, they seemed more interested in sticking to their usual script. At one point, Joy Behar even tried to shift the conversation toward blaming humanity's interruption of nature for all the planet's problems, completely missing the broader point Freeman was making. It's not that he disagrees with the idea that humans have caused harm, he said as much, but his focus is on solutions, on understanding how life adapts and survives despite catastrophic changes. That's the kind of discussion that could inspire viewers to think critically about their own role in preserving the planet, but sadly, it never happened. And let's not forget the irony of it all. Here's Freeman, someone who's dedicated his career to telling stories that challenge and inspire, sitting across from a group of people who seemed more interested in their own narratives than in actually listening. It's almost poetic in a way. Freeman, who's always maintained that life is about adaptation and growth, found himself in a setting where no one was willing to adapt to the conversation he was trying to have. Instead, they clung to their predetermined talking points, missing the chance to engage with a legend who has so much more to say than they gave him credit for.
Black History Month you find
ridiculous.
why?
You're going to relegate my history to a month?
Oh, come on.
What do you do with yours? Which month is White History Month?
But wait, it gets better, or worse, depending on how you look at it. Sonny Hostin, clearly determined to steer the conversation toward race, brought up Freeman's other documentary, 761st, about the 1st Black Tank Battalion to fight in World War II. A worthy topic, no doubt, but her question was phrased in such a way that it felt less like genuine curiosity and more like an attempt to box Freeman into a specific narrative. She asked if the film was personal to him because of his own service in the Air Force, to which Freeman responded graciously. He talked about how he's long been interested in stories that aren't widely told, but you could tell he wasn't about to let Sonny pigeonhole him, and who could blame him? This is a man who's repeatedly said that Black history is American history, period. The idea of relegating it to a single month, or in this case, a single narrative, just doesn't sit right with him.
Morgan Freeman's broad point there is stop talking about it, meaning the more you obsess over it, the more you make it feel real. And the more that it feels real, the more people will act on that fake realism. And we'll all walk around thinking that everything is racist.
Now, here's where things really go off the rails. Whoopi Goldberg, perhaps sensing that the interview was spiraling, tried to jump in with her own question, but surprise, they suddenly ran out of time. Convenient, right? They spent so much time floundering with their awkward attempts to push their own agendas that they didn't even let Freeman finish his thoughts. And what's worse, they gave him a measly 6 minutes. 6 minutes for Morgan Freeman. Let that sink in. Lesser-known guests have gotten double that time, but for one of the most respected actors of our time, they couldn't even manage a proper segment.
I said something that I feel a responsibility for not leaving unexamined because my words upset so many people.
Of course, the internet wasn't about to let this one slide. Fans were quick to call out the co-hosts for their lack of preparation and their blatant attempts to turn the interview into something it wasn't. One commenter summed it up perfectly. "I'm 67 and a white guy. Morgan to me is an icon. I love and respect the man. Thomas Sowell, Victor Davis Hanson, and Morgan Freeman on their own talk show would be the best discussions. How I wish it could be so." Another fan chimed in, "Morgan Freeman is an American icon. He's one of my favorite actors, and he is priceless." And honestly, they're not wrong. Freeman's wisdom and measured perspective are exactly what we need more of, especially in a world that often feels dominated by noise and hysteria. But let's not forget the cherry on top of this whole debacle. The episode was completely wiped from the Views YouTube channel. Yup. They tried to erase it from existence, as if the internet wouldn't notice. Thankfully, the Wayback Machine had our backs, preserving the footage for all to see. It's almost comical, really. Instead of owning up to their mistakes, they tried to sweep the whole thing under the rug. But in doing so, they only made the situation worse. Now more people are talking about the interview than ever before, and not in the way the co-hosts might have hoped.
People online are split about this.
And here's the thing, Freeman himself has been incredibly consistent on these topics over the years. Whether he's talking about race, history, or the environment, his message is always one of unity and perspective. In a resurfaced clip from a 2005 interview on 60 Minutes, Freeman famously said, "How are we going to get rid of racism? Stop talking about it. I'm going to stop calling you a white man, and I'm going to ask you to stop calling me a black man." It's a powerful statement, one that speaks to his belief in looking beyond labels and focusing on what truly matters. And yet, time and time again, people try to drag him back into these narrow discussions that don't do justice to his broader vision.
Black history is American history.
How are we going to get rid of racism?
Stop talking about it. I'm going to stop calling you a white man.
Yeah.
And I'm going to ask you to stop calling me a black man. I know you as Mike Wallace. You know me as Morgan Freeman. You want to say, well, I know this white guy named Mike Wallace. You know what I'm saying?
This whole fiasco with The View is just another example of that. Instead of engaging with Freeman's ideas, they tried to fit him into a box, and when that didn't work, they cut the segment short and pretended it never happened. It's a shame, really, because Freeman had so much more to offer. Imagine the conversations they could have had about his documentary, his views on history, or even his thoughts on the current state of Hollywood. But no, they squandered the opportunity, and now they're left with nothing but a deleted episode and a whole lot of backlash. So here's the real question. Why does this keep happening? Why do so many interviewers fail to rise to the occasion when they're sitting across from someone like Morgan Freeman? Is it a lack of preparation, an inability to move beyond their own agendas? Or maybe it's just that Freeman's wisdom and perspective are so far removed from the noise of modern discourse that they don't know how to handle it. Whatever the reason, one thing's for sure, they missed out, and so did their audience. But what do you think? Was this just another case of The View fumbling the bag, or is there something deeper at play here? And more importantly, how do you think interviews like this should be handled when you have a guest as legendary as Morgan Freeman? Let us know in the comments, and as always, thanks for tuning in. Until next time.